All right. So I figured just to give a little entertainment, kind of bring this group to life a little, I'm going to do, well, we all just, everybody knows the song Piano Man, right? All right, everybody. All right. So, anyway, just figured time for a little entertainment. All right, so today, you just heard a nice presentation on LEDs. There's a couple other LEDs. Everybody's LED crazy. What we do that's a little different is we help apply the LEDs. So there was a question back there, how do we sort through all this stuff, right? It's changing. Well, that's our expertise. So I'm going to walk you through just a quick little history of just kind of how we got to where we are today, and then we're going to move into some real cutting-edge ideas and tell you what you can do with that. So, gotcha. Okay. So, quick background. Just mentioned that stuff, so what we're going to get into. And I'm going to move through this really fast, so just stop me if you want to stop me. Raise your hand. I'd rather go too fast than too slow. So our mission as a company, we design and implement a multi-site lighting program we call business-driven lighting. It's to maximize energy savings and optimize several key business drivers: productivity, safety, quality, morale. So what we don't do is just go in one for one or have a fixture that replaces anything. We don't represent any fixture. It's all about coming up with the best solution and doing it on a turnkey basis. Some of our current past clients are on this list. So evolution of lighting paradigms, real quickly. You can see here, 1960s, obviously, fluorescence, high-pressure sodium, metal halide. Fluorescence, we were at the forefront of that. LEDs, wirelessly controlled, or fluorescence wirelessly controlled. We dabbled in that for the past couple of years. And here we are, 2013, with an LED fixture. Just one example with a motion sensor in it that can be standalone with a remote control. So we'll get into that in a minute. So I call these paradigm shifts just the whole fluorescent replacing metal halide. How many of you out here have done that already? All right. How many still have metal halides in their facilities? Well, okay, get their names. So anyway, you know, it's probably where you have them, you're in low electric rate areas in the country, no rebate programs. If you're in the West Coast, the Northeast, you probably changed them out 5 or 10 years ago. Fluorescents have been replacing metal halides. You cut the watts in half. It's pretty much standard practice. We call paradigm shift number 2, which is while you're doing this, it's an opportunity to fix things. So most plants have lights in horrible locations. They're blocked. You can't reach them for maintenance. If you're going to get up there with some crazy knuckle boom lift to change that fixture out, maybe just move it over 10 feet so next time it's easy to get to. There's misapplications, obstructions, task areas, but actually it has to be engineered, so it changes the whole approach. If you're looking to do lighting and just count up 200 fixtures and swap them out, we're not the solution. If you have 200 fixtures though, and it might require 220 new fixtures, some relocated, some lowered, some special applications, you're over platforms, things to think about. So there's 2 paths basically, one for one. We call it looking. You don't just look up when you do a lighting audit, you look up and you look down. You look around, you see the task being performed. What light levels do you need? We want to engineer it properly. So then paradigm shift number 3 is when a lot of large companies are represented here. Some are also facility managers at individual companies. But we figure, how are you going to get 1 and 2 done if you're a big company? And so our approach is to try to do open book pricing with our customers, get multiple bids on material and labor, and try to engineer the best solution, kind of look at it as more of a program approach to all your sites. Here's an example of just how we would prioritize somebody's site listing if they have manufacturing plants or distribution centers. Here's an open book pricing sample of how we price our jobs. We kind of put all of our cards on the table and show how everything comes about. By the way, at the end of this presentation, you can grab off our table. We have a little light bulb that's actually a USB, lights up when you stick it in the computer. Maureen found those. Paradigm shift number 4 is LED lighting. now, right? So LED lighting is something that everybody's been a buzz about for the last few years. It really started taking off in cold storage areas as the best spot to go, but the fixtures were costing $750, and it was really hard to try to make the economics work in a typical high bay manufacturing plant, ambient conditions. So, but in the last 6 months or so, we've seen the prices dropping, and we've seen this combination and a strategy that we pretty much have pioneered to come up with a solution that will work in a lot of situations. My main point, I have sort of a vision now. As you walk around manufacturing plants, I now look and I see hundreds of lights, and I don't see a lot of people. There's just so much stuff's automated. All these lights are on, and yet if it's production, you can't shut them off, or if you censor them, you have to be very careful. If you have fluorescents and you're censoring them, you start to kill the lamp life. So there's all these drawbacks. And so the vision I have, and the vision is for manufacturing plants, warehouses, but it's even for, in the future, it's going to be for office buildings. And it's going to be lights that quickly dim after someone leaves an area, but dims to a very low mode, and when you walk by, it comes back to your high mode on cue. I didn't do that. So the vision is just, you don't need to have 100 lights on in a manufacturing area, but you can't shut them all off either if there's important tasks being performed. So it's striking that right balance of having lights dim to a low mode when there's nobody there, and have the lights come quickly back up to high mode, and having the set points to do all this without having to get into an expensive wireless control system, which we've done about 10 projects like that with 3 different companies, and they all have some pros and cons. They've had drawbacks. It's been a real challenge to make them work. So we've now evolved into just using something as simple as this fixture here. Before I get into that, though, I just want to show what happens when you do aggressively dim some lighting. If you look at here, this shows if a sensor delay is at 30 seconds, and in 1 hour you pass by under that fixture 25 times, you can still have the lights off or a low mode 75% of the time. When I first saw this slide a couple of years ago, I just about fell out of my chair, because this is what I was used to. 10-minute delay on a fluorescent, and if someone goes through 25 times, the lights don't even go off. And for those that have done projects already and put fluorescents in a busy situation, your lights aren't going off for the most part until it really goes to break time, shift change, or it's totally dead. So here's another example. This is from data that we did ourselves. This shows here that if a typical 10 to 20 minute time delay, your lights would only be off, say, 50% of the time, or even just 20% of the time, depending on how busy it is. But if it's set for just 1 minute time delay, you'll see that your lights are off 77 to 89%. So this was actual data we did. We recorded in a warehouse for a couple of weeks, and we were able to extrapolate the data based on the information we recorded to put this graph together. So this is what you're looking at as you think you're saving a lot of money in your sites, you have them on sensors, and yet if you could aggressively set it for, say, a minute and go to a low mode of maybe 10%, 20% on an LED, you're looking at 80% of the time being in your low mode. And that's just a huge amount of savings. Any questions before I keep going? Try to keep this interactive. Candy? Anyone? Okay. All right, so this slide's a little confusing, but this is what we're pretty much excited about right now after putting this together. This is right here, remote control, which controls a sensor. And it's a watt stopper sensor. It's nothing, we don't make these things. We just try to put the best ideas together. But this is our process in a manufacturing plant. We want to basically map the fixtures to scale. We want to try to lower them as much as practical, because the more you can lower them, the more you can set the high mode on this fixture to a lower amount. Each fixture gets a motion sensor, remote control, and you illuminate your areas to full brightness and foot candle standards, but quickly revert to a low mode when it becomes occupied. Here's just an example, I'll get into that in a minute, on how all the set points. And this is just an example of different fixtures that are out there with LEDs that don't have this sensor, and here's sort of different lines that do have the sensor. So here's the remote control, and it shows it was actually designed, this is kind of interesting, WattStopper made this motion sensor strictly for exterior applications. Never even imagined it for interiors. They don't market it that way. They don't even make it as an attachment on the end of a fixture like all their other high bay fixtures or sensors. It's only meant to be integrated into a fixture, only meant for exteriors. Only a few companies have put 2 and 2 together and realized that this is a home run for interior applications. So this just kind of shows how this whole sensor works. You have current settings, you aim it at the fixture, tells you right here 10 volts is your high mode, 1 volt is the low mode, so that's 100%, 10%, time delay to low mode, time delay to cutting off, sensitivity on the sensor in case you're picking up things, you need to minimize it, set point for daylight sensing. Then you go to the next page, you got a ramp up time, a ramp down time, and it tells you the actual light levels it's reading. So this fixture right here, I'm just going to show you. So if I do the current settings, I aim it at the light fixture, it blinks, tells me it's set for 100% on the high mode, 10% on the low mode, 30 seconds to go to the low mode, 1 minute to cut off. If I wanted to change that, there's the profiles, which you can see right here and right here. So I'm going to recall a profile that will change to the maximum amount is now going to be 50%. So in a few seconds, sometimes it's hard to tell if it's actually at 50 or 100, but it would change it to 50%, and now you can just determine that that light never needs to go over 50%. That's the maximum you need to set it for. It's in a certain area of a facility where you don't need 100%, so let's just knock it down to 50%. So this is, any questions on this? Because this is really some cutting edge stuff. Yes?
What's the approximate cost per high bay fixture install to add the wand stopper aux sensor solution?
I'm glad you asked that. There you go. I almost hit Michelle in the head last year. So it's about a $50 adder. It's really not any different. All this technology that comes with this sensor and the remote control, and it's really the same as adding a regular motion sensor, a regular high bay sensor. And when you get into wireless systems, usually the adder is $100, $150 per fixture, not including gateways and running network cabling around the entire facility. And I would argue that the wireless system that goes back to a computer head end is not even as good for the customer as just having this. Because most of them aren't going to be that fluent in the system. They're going to want to log on. My analogy is, imagine you're sitting on your couch watching TV. You want to change a channel. Do you want to get up, go to the next room, log into your computer, pull up that program, change to the channel, and maybe turn the volume up a little, then go back down and sit down and see if that's what you really want to do? Or do you just use a remote control? I mean, there's a reason why this is such a simple, easy technology. Any other questions? All right, so that's my talk on the interior. I just want to hit the exteriors real quick too. So the last gentleman had a nice talk on the LEDs, and there was a question about what to replace and the confusion and all the stuff that comes out with that. And what we say is, stop the one-for-one. Usually the manufacturers will say this replaces that, but it's our feeling that you have an opportunity to get this right for maybe the next 20 years. And you may have lights that are shining in the back of a building, shining doing nothing, and you may have some in the front where, or on the side where you have loading trucks or forklift traffic, and to treat that all the same is just a total missed opportunity. One area may need to be 5 times brighter, 10 times brighter than the other area for safety reasons. So to just replace a 400 watt with a 75 watt LED across the board is just a total missed opportunity. So we would say, let's take a hard look, let's think about it, let's get this right. Let's make sure we brighten the areas you need to be brightened. So motion sensor opportunities are even another idea. Same sensor, put it on there, have it go to low mode when nobody's there. Again, it's a little complicated here, but looking at this picture here, we ask our customers with a satellite view to draw out, or just to indicate where their A areas are, high task activity, B for medium, and C for low. And based on that information, we can then target the foot candles to what they need. And we can get more precise than that, but it gives a general rule of thumb without being a big burden on our customers. They can just tell us, yeah, right here we're loading trucks, right here's forklift traffic, right here nobody goes at night, it's completely dead. Don't waste any extra money. So we could replace a 400 watt fixture here with 10 watts of LED. Why not just be aggressive? We did a project where we replaced two 1,000 watt metal halides on poles. Similar situation, except there were poles in the back here. We replaced two 1,000s with one roughly 100 watt LED. And most people would say, you can't do that, it's crazy. The customer told us, we don't do anything back there. Just because it was built 35 years ago with two 1,000 watt fixtures doesn't mean we need to do that. And meanwhile, in the other parts of the facility, he wanted to brighten it up. That's where they have forklift traffic at night. So there's a lot of fixture options here. Shoe boxes, you got all these different types of styles of fixtures, wall packs. I agree with everything the last gentleman said about making sure the fixtures are of good quality, reputable companies. There are a lot out there. I mean, the competition is fierce right now, from all the major manufacturers to all the second-tier manufacturers to startup companies, and we try to sort through that, make the best decisions for you for the long term. Here's just some pictures of different fixtures we've used, different job sites. So I guess to sum it up, we call it like a program approach. We want to help develop corporate standards, prioritize your sites, do open book pricing, bid out everything for you, do a turnkey project, help communicate to the sites, make sure that they're doing the right things, and work with the sites as well, help determine long-term plans. Pulp Fiction, I like to throw a slide in here because sometimes I feel like we're like the cleanup crew. If you guys remember the scene from Pulp Fiction. So, you know, we go into facilities and they've been picked apart, they've been different generations of retrofits, some did a little of this, a little of that, they've done some in-house, used a different company, and it's kind of a mess now. You know, we go in there and we got to try to sort through that and try to figure out how can we squeeze savings out of here, even though it's fairly efficient, and make the whole thing work. Any more questions? Yeah?
For a company like mine that needs a lot of work done in this area, how do we convince them that if we wait 2 or 3 years that the cost on LED is not going to go drastically down since it's so new? Because when you approach them, they say, well, we'll wait on that because right now the cost is just...
It's dropping. Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I mean, we've seen fixture prices go from $750 to $275. So it's probably not a ton of room to keep going down. I mean, you can get down to 150, but maybe in 2 years from now or in a year from now,
So you think that drastic drop has already happened?
It really has.
Okay.
But it's hard to find that information. I got to tell you, we've worked really hard to go through companies that are approved for rebates, and there's tons of them, and just to sort through and find out, are they reputable companies? We heard of them, have we ever done work with them? What's their latest product? And then look at their price points, look at their fixtures, and this is just one example of a fixture. It's not, we're not wedded to any fixtures. There's a few that we like right now, but it changes as the prices come out, as they roll out their new ones. What we're finding is the companies that rolled out their state-of-the-art fixture maybe 2 years ago, they're kind of obsolete now. Their efficiencies, like the last guy said about the lumens per watt ranging from 25 to about 110, this is close to 110. That's why we like it. All of a sudden we're using a 108 watt fixture where we would have used a 155 watt fixture just 6 months ago for LEDs. And that also keeps the cost down. So it's more efficient, and because it's less wattage, less chips, everything comes down in price. So it's really, really close right now to the point where I'd say it's had that drop off. But it's a great question. So you get some candy for it.
I don't want to kill anybody.
All right. Any other questions? Yes.
Back to your remote, say you've got a room with 10 of these fixtures, are you able to just do all the fixtures at one time, or do you have to go down to each one?
You do have to go to each one, but it has that profile feature, which is kind of nice. So if you decide you want to take all the fixtures and cap them out at 70%, because a certain area, that's all it needs, you'd make a profile, you just aim it at the fixture, it would change, go to the next fixture, aim it at the fixture, and change. So you don't have to do really anything on the program, but just point and click. So, but to that point, we did a job with fluorescents that had about 1,200 fixtures in a distribution center, and after we were done with the job, the customer said, can you change the set points from 15 to 20 minutes? We had to go with a lift up to every fixture and just hit a bunch of buttons and switch it. So at least those days are gone. Everybody likes Snickers. Any other questions? All right. So anyway, benefits of our whole program: you focus on your core business. You look for bigger fish to fry regarding your energy usage. We can help document everything for you. I call it stop the madness at all the sites. If you're at corporate headquarters right now, I guarantee you at every one of your plants, there's somebody knocking on that door. There's the guy with the US LED fixture in that area who's saying, you should put this one in, and someone else saying you should do that one. And everywhere I go, someone's got a sample fixture hanging, a LED tube bulb somewhere. It's everywhere. And so we call it stop the madness, because there's so much out there. To your point, like, how do you sort through that? If you're at a facility level, if corporate could do one thing for the facility people, it would be saying, we've got a plan now. We're working with somebody that's sorting through this, going to come to your site and try to make sense of it. And I just think it makes a lot more sense that way. Quality projects to corporate standards, streamlined procurement, latest in LEDs. The end. Any other questions? No? All right. Thank you very much.